The march continued down the main trail. McDougal followed the pack mules with his company, Matthew leading the train. Matthew testified, "After I had gone, I suppose a little over an hour, and I had a horse that was very warm, and I changed him for another one, and I went to the head of the train to see how it was getting along. In a short time I came to where a mule had been in the morass. Something was said about the mule being there. The packs were very much scattered from the front to the rear of it." Since the location of the morass is crucially important to the timing of the movements of the train and Benteen's battalion, it is necessary to note what various persons had to say on that point. One person who should know is Matthew, and his testimony is that it was 4 or 5 miles, I think, referring to the distance from Benteen's swing to the left, which ties in rather nicely with the timing of his switching of his horse for a fresh one. Captain McDougal could not remember the time or distance from the division of the regiment, but was able to say, "I only remember that from this morass to Major Reno's position, I think it was about 8 miles, which agrees with Matthew's location exactly. The fact that it is measured from a different direction endorses the placement. When Benteen came into the valley of Ash Creek and saw the pack train a half-mile up that valley, the train had traveled between 3.5 and 4 miles, and had done so at a marching rate of just under 3 miles per hour. Since the train had started some 20 minutes after the rest of the troops, that gives an extremely accurate fix on the timing of both Benteen's march and that of the train. It was almost exactly 2 p.m. when Benteen saw the pack train, a march of an hour and a half for the train, crossing the divide at 12:30 p.m. The pack train's march to the morass had been rather uneventful, except for the apparently frequent slippage or unpacking of some of the loads. McDougal covered it just as succinctly as had Matthew. "We started about 20 minutes after the command left. Lieutenant Matthew in advance with the pack mules made the trail, and we followed in the rear. Whose trail he followed I don't know, whether an Indian trail or that of General Custer. We proceeded along the trail till we came to a kind of nearby watering place, where I found 5 or 6 mules mired. I dismounted my company to assist the packers, and we got them out in about 20 minutes. We adjusted the packs and started on. About 4 miles from there, we came to an Indian teepee. Matthew said that he thought there were 3 or 4 mules stuck in the mud at the morass, that there was no delay to the train. It seemed to move right along, and that after passing the morass, I judge about 3 miles, we came to a teepee. Someone said something about a dead Indian inside of it, but I did not look inside." Orders for the pack train. 2 citizen packers, John Frett and B.F. Churchill, testified before the Reno court. Neither had much of interest to say about the march down Ash Creek, except that the mules were never driven at more than a walk until the train reached the lone teepee site. It is here that the only real controversy regarding the train arises, and that is the question of whether or not Sergeant Daniel Knipe delivered the verbal orders to the train that he carried from Custer. It becomes necessary to retrace Knipe's steps to determine the truth of the matter. Knipe started back from Custer at approximately 3:05 p.m., and reached Benteen with his message at about 3:35 p.m. after a ride of half an hour. When Knipe first saw Benteen's command, they were watering their horses near the lone teepee site, and he met Benteen about a mile nearer the Little Horn, between the teepee and the flat. Benteen told Knipe that he had nothing to do with the pack train, and to take the order back to Captain McDougal about 7 miles back. He repeated the statement about sending Knipe back later in his testimony. In his 1924 narrative, Knipe gets the positioning reversed, but is definite on the subject of delivering the order. "Reaching the pack train, I gave Captain McDougal the orders sent him, and went on toward Captain Benteen, as I had been told to take them to him also. McDougal, read Benteen, in his outfit, rode onto the top of the hill and reinforced Major Reno as he retired from the bottom of the bluffs. As I went back after Captain Benteen, McDougal, I saw some Indians running along. I thought they were hostile Indians and got ready to give them a few rounds before they got me, but they were scouts." In his letter to Walter Camp, dated October 9, 1910, Knipe is even more emphatic, indicating where he met McDougal. "In regards to the place that I met Benteen, it was about 1 mile, as you say, from where I met McDougal. I was not in sight of McDougal when I met Benteen." Camp also noted from his interviews with Knipe that Knipe rode back at head of pack train. Since Knipe met Benteen about a mile west of the lone teepee site, he therefore met the train near that site. Several members of the pack train also